So there it is, the heads of the broccoli. No! So there it is, the heads of the cabbage you're left to eat. I've removed all the outer leaves which will go to the chickens, and we're left with the middle bit.
We're Stephen and Mags, and together with our 3 kids, Louis, Neve and Oliver, we're starting out on the biggest adventure of our lives, swapping city life for an off-grid homestead. After years of dreaming about making a change, we sold our house in the UK, packed up all our belongings and made the 1,500-mile trip to southern Spain, with the hopes of creating the dream family home and a new life in the sun. Follow our story from the very beginning as we begin the journey of creating our off-grid home.
Hi everyone, buenos dias. Another week of stuff to be getting on with on the homestead, and this week we've got a lot. We've got a little area around the back garden, the area we sit outside the back of the house, which we're trying to make a little bit more private. We've captured a few shots from trying to screen that in the other day, which I'll include in this video as well. But it's been a busy week. 2 of our friends have gone back to the UK to go and see family, and while they went they asked us to mind their birds. So they had ducks and chickens, and we've been going up every day and seeing to them, but unfortunately the other day something got into their pen, and now we've got the remaining ducks that survived with us, and we're looking after them as best we can in the barn. And here they are, the last 2 remaining ducks that have survived. So we're doing our best to look after them. They're in our barn, so separate from our chickens, so that the chickens don't pick on them. They both got injuries. We're trying to keep them clean and putting antiseptic cream on them and stuff like that. That is supposed to work. We've got a little bucket in there for water to have a little splash in, and then food and water down there. They're doing okay. The male is much more badly injured than the female duck that's in there. The male's the bigger one on this side. There was one other duck that survived the initial attack, but then later died when we brought her home. So I think it's just really unfortunate that while nobody was in the property, there was nobody able to stop the attack from happening or notice that an animal had got in. We don't know what it was, whether it was a dog or a fox or something, but there was nobody there to be able to stop them. And I think that's the worst part. If you'd been there, you could have stopped what happened, hopefully, because you'd have heard the noise from the ducks and the chickens, etc. So they're with us for now anyway, our little rescuees, and we're looking after them until they come back to Spain, and then they can go back to the original house and sort out the pen, so that's a little bit more secure for them. In the meantime though, we've got stuff to be cracking on with. But today, while the weather's really hot, and we keep holding out thinking that it might be cooler in the evening, or we'll come out really early in the morning, and we just don't manage to get it done. So it's not ideal time to be planting out, but we're going to get to planting. And we've got lots of stuff in our greenhouse which needs to go out now. So we're going to start working on preparing the beds area for them and putting them in today. I'll just show you the little greenhouse and what we've got. So you can see it's looking quite green in the greenhouse. There's lots of stuff ready to go out. So down the bottom we've got our strawberry plants, some flowers, spinach, and then we've got a tray of marigold or calendula, English wallflowers, which are ready to go out now. They're starting to get a bit leggy in there. We've got some of our original tomatoes that we planted. It's been on the heat mat, and some of them are now growing a little bit bigger. More tomatoes and courgettes at the back that need to grow because they're starting to wilt inside here now. I think the little cells are too small for them. Melons, butternut squash, lettuce, some more brassicas at the back, and then the corn. Look how big the corn's got. We've got sweet corn in there and sweet corn in the top. But we're finding now, as they're getting bigger, that the cells are drying out really quick. So they've only been watered a couple of hours ago, but the heating is making them dry out. Another tray of wallflowers, and then more brassicas. So before they all get too big for in there, we're going to go and plant them out, get them in our little veg plot so that they can start growing properly. We have managed to sort out all the irrigation, so now all the rows have got irrigation properly. We just need to prepare the rows properly, dig that little channel down the middle of them, and then get to planting them in. So let's crack on with it. There we go, that's that little job done. Done these 3 beds, and now I'm going to get to adding some of the compost that I brought over before, some of the horse manure, the compost de caballo, and mixing that in with what's already there to try and fertilise the soil a little bit. These rows were already done with that, and it helps hold the water a little bit better, and the irrigation is working great as well. As you can see, the beds are still wet even in the midday sun, which is great. Our first tray of homegrown seeds are going out. In this row we've already got lettuce, so I'm going to plant some of our little lettuce starts and some Swiss chard that have come up. Not all the Swiss chard germinated, so the ones I have I'm going to plant out and fill the rest of this row up.
So whilst he continues to plant the kale and the lettuce and the marigold, here he is in action. I'm going to harvest our very first cabbage, which I'm quite excited for really. Let me show you this. There we are, this is the cabbage. So as you can see, it's grown really well, it's quite big really. So since this is our first time harvesting cabbage, after a bit of reading, it says the time to harvest it is when you've got a really big dense head, because obviously this is the bit that you're going to eat when you've taken away the outer leaves. And what you want to ideally do is harvest it before these leaves on the inner part start splitting, or just as they start splitting. And then you definitely want to do it before the middle bit where the flower comes out of. So what happens is it starts becoming like a little bit bulbous, and then it bolts and the flower comes out the middle. So it looks just about ready, after a bit of reading, that we should be harvesting it now. It says to harvest the cabbage, you literally just break its neck and you just turn it all the way round and it snaps off. So hopefully that works. Ooh, after a bit of pulling and a bit, there we are. So there it is. The heads of the broccoli. No! So there it is, the heads of the cabbage you're left to eat. I've removed all the outer leaves, which will go to the chickens, and we're left with the middle bit.
I'm not sure who thought it was such a good idea to plant so many flipping seeds in the greenhouse, because the greenhouse looked nice because it was full. Because that means you've got to plant them all outside and put them in the ground, and we're rapidly running out of space. My legs feel like they're about to snap. I feel like the elastic bands on the back of my knees are about to rip in two, and my back's broke. So is Mags. Both of us are broken. We've put all the spinach, all the kale, the lettuce, peppers, broccoli, purple broccoli. Mike's is working on tomatoes. We put courgettes in so far, and in between all them we've interplanted all the marigolds that we had. Well, not all of them, because we've still got some left. We put marigolds in between them. We've got marigolds left to go at the bottom of the tomatoes, and we've also put in the English wallflowers as well. But seriously, it's no joke having to bend down and keep bending down for the whole row to put them all in. So I'm taking a break for a minute. We're going to plant the rest of these, which are the marigolds or calendulae, as they're called. So they're left for the bottom of the tomatoes. We've got some English wallflowers left, but we had 80 in little plug starts like this. There's 80 of them, and there's not enough room between some of the plants to put them all in, which I thought there would be. Totally overestimated that. But the rows, we've got this row left because we think we're going to end up with far too many tomatoes, so we're going to do another row of tomatoes. There'll be loads of tomatoes on the Mags.
Can't have too many tomatoes.
You can't, but you can run out of room to put them. We've got lettuce, and then in the very first row over there we planted the rest of the broccoli and purple broccoli. I'm just working on now, we've got spring onions, which are something you can't really buy in Spain. They sell them, but they come like huge white onions like this, rather than spring onions like what we'd be used to having in England. So we've got them to plant out. I need to find a place to put them. And then we've got loofahs and all different types of melons, butternut squash, pumpkins. And what we thought we'd do with them is, rather than extend the irrigation right out in the field and do it coming this way down, what we thought we'd do is put them at the base of the trees. So at the base of the trees there's already irrigation pipes in, and it faces out onto the same land, so we'll grow them out this way instead of growing them that way. So we're going to plant them around the bottom of the trees just there, and then they should be able to fill up the land, and then that leaves room for the sweet corn to go in this part here, and peas, and also some butternut squash at the bottom of them. So we're nearly done. I'm going to carry on planting and see where we get up to for tonight. Back at it today and back out in the garden. I am able to walk, my legs aren't killing me too much, and neither are Max's. So we're going out to plant the rest of the stuff out in the garden area, and also prep the ground for putting in potatoes, which have now sprouted and are ready to go in. But I wanted to take the rotavator out with me just to make sure that it was all nice and fluffy. Tried lifting the rotavator up to take it outside the shed so that I could turn it on, and noticed that there was lots of stuff stuck under the bottom of it from when we rotavated the last piece of land at the very back by the chickens. It's told it's been used as a dumping ground for years. Well, this is what I've just got out of the blades at the back of the rotavator. All this rope, plastic bags, thick pieces of wire that were wrapped really, really tight around the inside this part of the rotavator, which was preventing it from turning. They were so tightly wound that the blades wouldn't spin. There's thinner wire wrapped in with that as well, and just loads of plastic bags, pieces of rope that was wrapped around it again, even this piece of wire was wrapped around it as well. So all that has just come out of the blades at the back. They're now cleaned. I've greased them up a little bit as well, oiled them, and now I can finally go outside and start rotivating the patch where we're going to put the potatoes and get on with sorting the rest of the garden, which is good news. So I'm going to start the rotavator up and make my way over to the garden and get going. Apologies for the wind noise, the wind is really picking up. But we've done 3 beds now for potatoes, and we've got 3 different types of potatoes we're going to be planting.
We have.
We've talked about these before, but we got them from a company called Cocoa Pot. It's not sponsored or anything like that, it's just a really good shop to go to. So we've got Desiree potatoes, which are these red purpley potatoes. You can see the sprouted. We've had them in a cool dark room for a couple of weeks, and that's how much they sprouted. It's important because I want to say something else in a minute. So they've got lots of little chits on them already, and then we've got
This one as well.
what's that one called? Mona Lisa. And again,
Yeah.
lots of little sprouts on them. So both of these potatoes are meant to be really good for chipping, boiling, roasting, things like that. They've got lots of starch in them, so they're really good. They hold the shape when you're cooking them, and I didn't know that when I went to start looking for potatoes, that there was a difference between the starch content in them. So we've got these two. They're both determinate potatoes, so they should be ready in about 110 days, roughly, for both of them. Yeah, so that's them. However, so they've been in a cool dark room for weeks, trying to grow those little chits.
Yeah. On my baking trays, we might add.
On Max's baking trays, which we've missed. So they've been in a cool dark room. However, we still do have the need to buy potatoes, obviously, because there's 5 of us and we're all cooking and eating. And these have just been left in the kitchen. So we had extra potatoes on a shelf in the kitchen. And they've got better roots than the ones we've been trying to seed.
They look just as good as the ones that we've been
So,
put in a cool dark place.
yeah,
for
cool dark
weeks.
place. These have been in a warm like kitchen.
Yeah.
And they've all got chits on them already, pretty much the same as the ones we've got. So these are orchestra potatoes from France. We're going to see if we can plant a row of each, and then that way we should have enough to eat.
Yeah.
These ones will need to be in first, because these are obviously treated from in being in the supermarket. But the other two are supposed to store really well as well if you keep them in a cool place. So once we do collect them or harvest them, is that the right word?
Harvest them, yeah.
Once we do harvest them, then we should be able to store them for some time as well, which will be good. So I think we've got about 30 each of them, which then should fill the rows up. We fill the rows up with horse manure and some fertiliser in the bottom, and then obviously going to put new irrigation lines on them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we start planting.
Yeah, certainly. So we moved out the sun for a little bit after we put the potatoes in, and we've been doing more irrigation pipes because we put in a couple of more rows.
A couple, we put loads in.
I know.
Loads in, so yeah, we needed more water to them, and we're going to get on sticking them in, and then we can go and plant this week going out.
So the irrigation's finally in, and we can get on with our Three Sisters project. Corn, peas and armies, and butternut squash across the floor. So the idea is that the corn will act as the support for the peas, the butternut squash will act as a ground cover to suppress the weeds, and all three of them combined will give the right nutrients for them all to grow. It's an old method, so we're just going to give it a go.
We are officially done. All the irrigation's in and it's all working. I think we have achieved a lot in the last couple of days. It's been hard work, my back is broke, but it was worth it because now the whole garden is sorted and we've got the whole garden done in rows, which is great. So in the last couple of days we put in kale, we put in courgettes, 3 different types of potatoes, corn, melon, butternut squash, lettuce, peppers, spring onions, broccoli, purple broccoli, tomatoes. We've done loads and I'm really pleased. So the garden's looking great. I'll give you a little look at what it looks like now. There's Max keeping out of Diego before he goes and jumps in all the puddles because he's notorious for it. But you can see everything's getting watered much better. This line with the onions, it already had an irrigation line in it, but it just wasn't working very well, so we replaced that. We've got one empty row there, which we're saving for stuff that's in the greenhouse. And then you can see they're all getting watered lovely. The little furrows are holding the water great in most places. You can see they're getting plenty of water and they're staying wet throughout the day. Tomatoes, we need to have a little look at what we're going to do with them strings, but they can wait for now, there's no rush. And then these are the kale and spinach and courgettes that went in this one. On the end of each row we've put wallflowers, so they should smell really nice, and the strong smelling flowers are supposed to deter pests, so we're hoping that's going to work. 3 rows of potatoes, and then melon, butternut squash and corn, and I'm just really pleased. I can't wait for them to grow up and get really tall and look like the garden's really full. Our little onions at the back have never had an irrigation system and are all looking quite sad, so hopefully now getting water to them they'll sprout back up again and all be fine. But just looking at it, it's great. The only thing we've got left to do is to get some more hay and then cover in between the rows and hay so that the ground's protected. But I'm made up. So we're going to leave the video there this week. I hope you've enjoyed watching along and seeing all that we've got up to in the garden, all the little tasks that we managed to get done, and taken one step further to be able to grow more of our own stuff. So from us, until next week, hasta luego.